Tonight, there's growing outrage over this video showing at least 2 police officers in Kenosha, Wisconsin with their guns drawn following 29-year-old Jacob Blake as he walks around the front of a gray SUV. We paused the video after he opens the door with his back to an officer. At least 7 shots can be heard.
Don't think we don't see your pain. I got a real mentality. I bet if you were reality, this is life that I'm battling. Hey, don't think we don't see your pain. I got a real mentality. I bet if you were reality, this is life that I'm battling. I got a real mentality.
Yeah, we at the old world famous Oasis, Alkaline Oasis, out in Brooklyn. And to commemorate 50 years of hip hop, I think it's important that we launch this series speaking about hip hop, its potential, its effect, and all that it has done, or, to our generation. And so, since I'm the elder, I'll open up.
Okay.
But I have 3 different generations of hip hop lovers with me. And so for 50 years, it's been a long journey, but I also think that it's important that everyone gets a chance to reflect on what hip hop meant to them when you fell in love with hip hop. So Eli, when did you fall in love with hip hop?
I fell in love with hip hop around 2009, 2008.
Who was the artist for you?
I would say probably Drake or Lil Wayne.
Drake or Lil Wayne.
That's a good start.
And these are monumental artists still to this day. Malcolm.
I would say, to be honest with you, I think my first was probably DMX. And then I got into Busta Rhymes because of his videos.
Yes.
And then I started watching Cash Money.
Yes.
Lil Wayne, that was my guy for a while. And then I came back to Lil Wayne once he started going on his run. And then I was in the car with Marcus. He was driving me, I think, to football practice, and a Biggie verse came on, and it was the most incredible thing I ever heard ever in life. And then I went on my whole Biggie rabbit hole, Eazy-E rabbit hole. So I was kind of everywhere with it. Like, I didn't really have like a set person I followed, you know what I mean?
Gotcha. So. And Marcus, you being the elder out of the 3.
The first experience I started to fall in love with hip hop was listening to Criss Cross.
Yes.
Jump.
I remember taking you to their
my first concert.
And you wore the clothes backwards. It was real
my first
cool.
concert. That was my first and last concert ever, as far as a music concert. And I had an amazing experience, even though I was sick. But that was a footprint in my hip hop journey. And ever since then, I've always learned to listen to different artists like DMX, Biggie. It took me a while to catch up to Jay-Z because he was so far advanced.
Yes.
But Criss Cross got everything started.
Yes, and see, for me, coming from the early era of hip hop, Cedar Park, which was my first experiences with hip hop, I kept hearing this name, Kool Herc, and he became like folklore before I even got a chance to go to Cedar Park. And Cedar Park is 3 blocks, maybe 6 blocks from where I live. And when I got there, and the legend of Kool Herc, he's only 6'3", 6'4", but in my mind, as a little kid, he was like 9 feet tall. And I can hear his system like 6 blocks away. And as a shorty, I was able to wheeze my way all the way to the front of the ropes. And what I saw changed my life because I saw 2 turntables. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand these pieces of the records they were playing. They were using something called the echo chamber. Kool Herc. Lloyds. And to look around and see so many young people, and I instantly fell in love. And so I came back and I needed to find my position in hip hop. So I went through all of the elements. As we speak about 50 years, I was a B-boy first. So I was real fast. That was my my thing. I was, I was real fast on the floor, but I was messing my clothes up. My mother was like, "You're messing your clothes up here." I tried to become a graph writer, the graffiti. I was terrible at it. You know what I mean? I DJ'd, and the first, what we tried to do was mimic the older guys on the block. Right. And so the older guys wouldn't let us DJ. So my man Dave, his mother bought him a set, and we had to put it on his mother's ironing board. We didn't even have a place to set up the turntables. And so those became the very first experiences. And then I picked up the mic and became an MC, MC Cool D. After Cool Mo D, I wanted to be Cool Mo D so bad.
Oh, I didn't know that's where you got it from.
Yeah, that's where I got Cool D from.
Yeah, I didn't know that's where, okay.
You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be cool, Cool D so bad. But those first experiences, hip hop hadn't even taken form yet. We didn't even call it hip hop. It didn't become hip hop until really, some people say Sugar Hill record with a hip hop, a hibbity, a hibbit, a hip hip. And so now, because it was on record, it was an opportunity for people to recognize it globally. But I want to talk about the influence overall. How has we as men benefited from it? As now we have enough time to look at it. Give me the pros and the cons of what hip hop has been over for 50 years.
Well, first off, when I was younger, I never saw hip hop I just saw it as music. I didn't realize it was a culture. So it took me a while to understand, like, it's a way of life. It's a way of how we see things from our day-to-day experiences. So I never really saw it as a culture. You know, I just thought it was music. So as I started getting older, the way we dress, the way we talk, I didn't realize how much of an impact hip hop had in our life. Right. And I started to realize it when I started looking in like other countries. Then I started to say, wow, like this is, I didn't know what to call it, but I know it's a powerful movement. It's a powerful way of life. It's a powerful culture. So the amazing thing is hip hop started in this country. Like the way how we piggyback from other cultures and we learn their way of life, that's how it is with hip hop.
Yes.
So when I look at like social media and I see like people from India having battles, it's funny to see.
Yeah.
But yo, it started here.
Yeah.
And that's I think people take that for granted. You know what I'm saying? So it does, there are some pros and cons to it, as with everything else. But 50 years is still young.
Yes.
So
growing up, I didn't realize, hip hop was, I think the rap music and hip hop kind of got misconstrued. Like you would kind of just see like all rap as hip hop, and by the time when somebody's talking about hip hop is this culture, you just think of rap music, and then it's kind of hard to tell those two apart. And then it wasn't until you get a little older and people start to differentiate it. Like no, that's rap. This is hip hop. And you talk about all of the four elements that you speak about, and then you really start to get a sense. But one of the things that I always just kind of look at as like, really like, wow, is the economic base that hip hop is caused, because just thinking about like fashion wise, like hip hop, the music itself, just TV and movies and things like that, and how like there are people who right now have had like really long careers, and it started because of hip hop somehow. Like they picked up a camera, recording battles or something like that, recording music videos, and now they filming movies or something like that, TV shows, something like that. But it started from hip hop, so that is accredited to hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Or other business ventures, fashion and things like that, or graffiti, like the guy Mark Echo, like the graffiti guy. You know what I'm saying? Like he created whole video games, fashion lines from being a graffiti artist.
Yes.
So you think of the culture, like the imprint that hip hop has had, like globally, and it's only, like you said, Marcus said, it's only 50 years old.
Yes.
That's nothing.
Yes.
You're older than that. I'm not
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I always think that's amazing.
So Eli, there's a lot of death in hip hop.
Yes.
Since you have been really focused in on hip hop, you've lost a lot. Give me some of the names of some of those that affected you, you know what I mean?
We lost Lil Peep. He's a white boy rapper, but he was starting out in 2017. Died of an overdose. XXX, he got shot in his car trying to buy, I think, an MTV vehicle for Trippie Redd, who was another rapper who they were close. And then Juice WRLD, like 2 years after that, died of overdose, seizure, coming back from Los Angeles into Chicago for his birthday. So those are a few rappers that...
Mac Miller,
who passed away. Most likely from drugs or getting gunshot down, just doing regular stuff, either not having security or not having the right people around them to tell them to move out of their home state, because they normally like to stay at home, which is why a lot of rappers be like, yo, you should go to Los Angeles or Miami because you're not from there.
right.
But even then, like Nipsey Hussle, who was trying to get back to his community, died in Los Angeles,
Yes.
who was just popping through to like get back to his community, like I said. Also, we have, in my generation, a lot of streaming services now, like Billboard, Apple Music, Spotify, all that stuff. And then you have, there's another thing I'm just gonna mention. Oh, mumble rap.
Oh yeah.
Because my era started with the mumble rap with the Young Thugs, Playboy Cardis, the Futures, a little bit of Future, but that stuff, and then that became a whole new language of rapping.
Yeah, my take on the mumble rap was a little bit different than most. Most of the pioneers hated it because they felt it was degenerating the culture, but English is not our language. And so our ancestors spoke in Pig Latin, all of these languages that we could just pick up. And so harmonizing, it became more about the rhythms. Harmony, you know what I mean? And that brought me back to what the Cold Crush, the Fantastic Five, Treacherous Three, they were doing routines. They were harmonizing. They was having 3 and 4 part harmony. They rap, don't get me wrong, excellent rappers, but the harmony part, I think, is starting to come back because it is rhythm, you know what I'm saying? And rhythm is important in how we do things. For me, just to piggyback off the death, the first major death in hip hop for us was probably Scott LaRock. You know what I'm saying? 1987, on my birthday, Scott LaRock was murdered. And so that brought awareness, and that's what led KRS One to do the whole Stop the Violence movement. And so this death inside of hip hop, due to the violence of, we were using hip hop to get away from gang violence. You know, when Africa Bambaataa and them was saying, let's stop the violence, and we were using hip hop as that medium to communicate. And then it almost evolved into gangs using hip hop when the money became available to launder money, launder ideas and concepts. And so the violence picked up in hip hop because also back in the day, the drug dealers didn't like hip hop or thought hip hop was nothing because it wasn't making any money. The rappers looked up to the drug dealers because they were making money. And then in 1986, when Edward Burns, the rookie cop, was murdered, you know what I'm saying, with Fat Cat Nichols and Pappy Mason and them, and they created what we call the TNT, which is a Tuesday and Thursday. So they started tactical, coming after the crack era. These crack dealers had to find a way to now launder and put their money in safer places. And so that's what birthed all of these record labels, and it became an avenue for drug dealers now to launder money. And so that's when hip hop took another turn. So, but when the record labels started manipulating this and using it to sell sex, using it to sell violence, now we have the hip hop to prison pipeline. Anybody want to discuss that?
So I always when you talk about the hip hop to prison pipeline, anybody else talks about it, it's a little catch-22 for me, because the more I get older, like the more, and I'm a dad now, right? So I think about just kind of personal responsibility a little bit more, but I try to put my brain back into when I was 13, 14, 15, 16. I wasn't really, you know, I was very influenced by whatever was going on around me. So it gets a little dicey when I hear like, you know, adults rapping about or doing stuff that they hear, you know, rappers are doing. I'm just like, you don't gotta do that.
Right, it's irresponsible.
Yeah, come on, you don't,
So
you don't
you
gotta do
get-
that. Like, come on, like, and I don't want to hear because Young Thug is your favorite rapper, you need to do something Young Thug talked about.
No.
But what's happening? Always the excuse is like rappers say, "Well, I'm rapping about what I see," and then the excuse on the streets are like, "I'm influenced by what's happening in the song." So like, where does it?
Right, it's life
Where does it
imitating
stop?
art,
Yeah.
and art is imitating life. It's a weird circle that we find ourselves in.
So I don't know. I do think it definitely exists, and especially now. And I think now that I'm older, I'm almost 30. I'm seeing the younger generation be like super rebellious. And when I was that age, you don't think you're being rebellious because you just kind of just is, but you see it now, and it feels like it's being a little forced, right? So when Eli's like that mumble rap generation, when they were coming out, they said, well, I don't care about Biggie, like I don't care about Tupac. When I don't care about none of whoever y'all want to be the greatest. I don't care about none of that. And it was just like, you just doing that because like you really did not listen to them, or you doing that because I just want to be quote unquote rebellious and different. So it seems like the younger generation now, if you see, it feels like to me that the level of violence within the music and what's happening from that music, like with drill rap and stuff like that, it's like 10 times worse. And it's because like I think like the music now is just way more rebellious. Like the old artists, I don't know. Like like it feels like I can't explain it. Like
they're on I don't give a F type of attitude.
no, seriously.
And is that a reflection, since you're the youngest one here, is that a reflection of how they see society, or?
Yeah, I mean it's a I don't give a F. I'm gonna take what I want, be who I want. F the whole elder generation, when it should to me be a okay. Let me take what the elders blueprinted and then enhance it and kind of make my own Allen.
But so then again, I don't know that either because like you know when they say well, there need to be more OGs, right? The OGs are supposed to pull everybody by the coattail and say this how you, but if the person don't want to listen, they don't want to listen.
Yeah.
It's extremely challenging to give someone who's 13 a six-figure check.
That's a fact too.
Yes. And expect them to be
To listen.
and listen. And
I'm
be
gonna listen to
adults.
you. You
Very,
got money.
because this, all right, so the beautiful thing about hip hop is you don't need no degree. You could literally start tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you the freedom to be creative. And there's no rule book,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think the generation now, they've seen generations prior of going by the book, doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So now they have the opportunity to do what they want. It's very difficult to judge them.
And we have to also like take into account like the music industry in general or entertainment in general. It could be a shiesty. Like anytime we think about like our like pioneer R&B singers, like when the deals they got, like y'all got jerked, but it hasn't much changed within the contract structures today.
Same contract.
Same contracts, right? So by the time I get to that, like say I'm a rapper now and I know a local rapper who, got signed and then you got jerked, I'm not listening to you. Or like you let that happen to you, not realizing like they were suffering from the same ignorance that you're suffering from.
Well, I
You know
think
what I'm saying?
fame is very addicting.
That too.
It is.
Facts.
So I can almost guarantee, Malcolm, when you went to Mexico and people acknowledge you,
It's true.
it felt good.
It did.
Times 1,000
It did.
with these youngins.
Yeah, I get it.
So
yeah.
it's very tricky, man.
Yeah.
So every generation has a process.
Yes.
And NWA had it. We was with Tin Dog
Yes.
in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess hip hop, it is what it is. You just gotta just respect it.
You kind of have
You
to
know what I'm
like
saying?
let it
Like, you
grow.
just gotta let it- you have- it
you
has
kinda
to
like
grow.
let it grow, yeah.
And some of the things, so back to when you say mumble rap, when hip hop started, it appears to be the golden age. It was fresh. I mean, I don't think it was enough problems and beef. I mean, it happened, but something new. Everybody's getting together. There's a battle on that block. There's a battle on that block. So by the time this generation came, I think they was probably going through some things that we probably never understood. So English makes it, when you're speaking in words, it kind of dumbs down certain things. So when you start to mumble, it just puts you in that type of...
It's a trance state.
It's a trance state. So we're in that transition stage, and for us, we like, it's stupid, but for them, it's dope.
And then you got to think about what made, I think, mumble rap so big at the time was social media was really, really just coming in. So where like you would go to an event and people just got their phones out, like, rather than just kind of being in it, right? So people got their phones out. You kind of want to appear to the people who's following you that you're having a way better time. So the mumble rap, the more events became, I think, more prevalent, like the festivals, the parties, and then you drinking, smoking at parties. It just becomes like an entire like vibe, and that's why the music, when young people describe the music as vibey though, like, you know what I'm saying, like not lyrical, like he cares about lyrics, right? He don't.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
right. And so we get the different aspects of it, but hip hop in the beginning was rebellious music because we were coming out of a disco era. R&B was our parents' music. Sure, we used their records, and my mother would say, well, why do you need 2 copies, Dwayne? And why are you scratching on these records? That was our way of being rebellious. And the disco era, you know, our historian Anthony Browder said the disco era was a disconnect from R&B. So it was R&B, and then it was a disco where people were in Studio 54 doing this music and this and that, and we couldn't get in there because we weren't dressed a certain way. So the streets where you could wear Pumas, Adidas, shell tops, and the music was free on the streets, we stole the electricity. You know, we took our parents' turntables and we put cardboard down, you know what I'm saying? And we made a culture out of it, which is the earth, air, fire, water, the b-boy, the MC, the breakdance, and the DJ. And so in its very essence, it's rebellious music. So when the young generation begins to rebel against us, we're upset now, but at the very core. Now, I want to take the conversation up one notch right after this break.
To all of you Dr. Sebi followers, I've got something for y'all. Discover the untold story of one of the most important healers of our time in Abelardo Guerrero Jr.'s book titled My Journey with Dr. Sebi. Visit www.myjourneywithdrsebi.com to place your order and receive a free copy of the audiobook with over 4 hours of exclusive content.
Now we got to talk about outsiders. Those who have taken advantage of our culture. They're not a part of our culture. They own all the record labels. Sex, money, and violence sells. So, you know, you give a 18-year-old kid a check and you tell him, I'm only looking for this type of music. Now, they own all the record labels. So these records are played on every station across America at the same time. This is a form of mind control. So the impression on a 13-year-old kid who don't have a father at home, who's watching his favorite rapper, who's got all of these women around him.
Big gold chains on.
Big gold chains on, you know, getting that money, popping champagnes and bottles, and dumping champagne on women, putting credit cards through their butt cracks. And so his first impression of how he interacts with women is not of a respectful way, or he see the the dudes and they popping them guns and all they talking about is, so he doesn't know how to deal with issues, resolve issues man to man. So now you got the violence situation. He's always talking about he's selling cocaine to his own community. So now you have all of these issues that are being promoted by these record labels from these outsiders. Let's talk about it, because that's the elephant in the room when we talk about 50 years of hip hop, but we don't own it. You know what I'm saying? We want to control, and we're proud of how it has evolved, but we still do not own it.
Yeah, so that's a real that's a deep one, because it feels like, how would you feel like if you pay for somebody, you pay somebody to do something, and then they are kind of complaining to you about like you paying them? Like when rappers talk about, you know, we don't own the music and stuff like that, we don't own anything and stuff like that, but you're still are rapping, you're still contributing to this. You look
problem.
silly.
Yes.
And I feel like at this point we look silly, you know, as a people, because we're complaining, we're not doing anything about it, right? And there are ways that I think if Drake, prime example, if he was to just go independent, he'll cripple the entire music industry, because right now music isn't making, like, just music, songs, albums, they don't really make money, you know what I'm saying? So the fact that he is still keeping the lights on at some of these record labels, you know what I mean? Like if he was to just go independent, because use what we've learned in, you know, just years of like Jay-Z owning his masters, this person owning their masters, and how that just kind of affects your money and your in the ownership of your music and your art. If he was to just, you know, make that one change, then, you know, things would be different. But with Drake, and who can be considered, like, if you just looking at him on paper, an outsider, right? Just on paper, right? Mm-hmm. Half Jewish kid from Canada, right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just not him, you know, not him like literally, but he makes other people way too much money, I think, to really make change. And I feel like sometimes we might be like too far gone for it to make any real change to kind of take back ownership of hip hop, because I feel like there's too many middlemen, there's too many people that need to get paid, too many that won't allow it either. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, Drake could go independent, but could he? Like, could he really?
So Eli, do you feel that we're killing ourselves now for a paycheck from these record labels?
Yeah, a little bit, especially because the record labels benefits, like you said, so much off of, like you said, Drake being Drake, benefiting off of other features, globally, the tours, this and third, and then the death that skyrockets it off of the numbers as well, and then the drugs, sex, all that other stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how to fix it, because the way we're going, it's gonna just keep getting worse before it gets better. So, I mean,
okay.
No, I'm done.
I think when you first get started in any industry, you might lose in the beginning because you're so excited, the opportunity. If you probably have a family and you got bills to pay. Right. But I think after a certain period of time, you have to pivot and be 10 steps ahead. And I think the only individual that I know that's probably doing that is probably Jay-Z. I don't know. It appears to be that way. But we originally, I think, we just came in as artists and the fame and just not really thinking about the intricacies behind the scenes. So I think we're at that stage now where we're starting to be more aware. So this new era, AI and stuff like that, consciously, collectively, we're more aware that we could use AI to patent things and stuff like that.
Yes.
So if you think about it, when everybody came in hip hop, the majority of people who wasn't doing the music controlled all the legalese, the language, and all that. But now, collectively, we all on this technology, AI. So I think we're getting smarter now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's been a huge setback in some ways, but I think we're making a great transition along the way.
Yeah, that's a great point, because social media has sort of leveled the playing field.
Yes.
Where independent artists can create their own buzz, their own following, but the record labels stay 2 and 3 steps ahead. So they appear to be what you think is an independent outlet is also owned by the labels because it's important for them to own your creativity more than anything else. And these contracts, because I've signed one, these contracts are to perpetuity. And they own you throughout the universe. It's in the contract. We own your creativity throughout the universe. Like, dude, I'm on Earth. What are you talking about? So that means even if I create another form of music galactically, it is owned by these binding contracts. And these contracts have not changed in years. In 50 years, they are the same contracts.
Yeah,
so
they just remixed them a little bit.
They remixed them a little bit. And so after 50 years, it's bittersweet for me, who has witnessed almost the inception of a culture that started organically. And see, when you name things, sometimes you kill them because now you give it form and you give it identity in which those who are outside don't know. They didn't know what we were doing. We were just doing it, jamming in the park, having a good time, but they recognize components. They recognize graffiti as ancient hieroglyphs because our DNA is our DNA. They recognized the DJ as the sacred drummer. You know what I'm saying? And we were using Urban Alchemist to take 7 seconds of 2 different break beats and suspending it, giving us, you know what I'm saying? They recognize the MC as the oracle, that wise one within the ancient community who held the history. And the B-boy, it was the sacred dancer in which we used to make it rain, and we danced as a form, because remember, 85% of communication is nonverbal. So we could dance. We had war dances. We had dances when birth was, you know, we had so many. So those 4 elements is where our magic lies. And all we did was take the environment, because they took the art out of the classrooms, they took away the instruments, and put us in a desolate situation that either is gonna bust pipes or make the diamond. And hip hop became the diamond in the rough. And so while we were building it, those on the outside are going, wait a minute, what is this? And once we named it hip hop, then they went back into their boardrooms and they said, okay, we have the blueprint. And so when Public Enemy, KRS-One, X-Clan, Brand Nubian, Poor Righteous Teacher, Wise, and when all of these, the native tongues, and they started bringing in the cultural aspect, then the shift came, and we had NWA, and we had more violence, and it became, but we have to, after 50 years, get back a hold, because now it's time for us to reap all of the economic benefits and all of the messages that are being sent, beamed across the world now. Because remember, World Star Hip Hop was the #1 viewed site globally. So those who did not understand our culture, they were using World Star. You know what I mean? And if that's your template, then you think we're a bunch of niggas. And you think we're violent, and you think we're all of these things. And so it's time now, after 50 years, that we grab a hold of this so that the next 50 years we can implement Claude Anderson's 9-step program of economics, entertainment, education, sex, violence, politics, because hip hop has the potential to be all of that.
So how do we do that? How do we do
I think
that?
we have to kind of take a step back to take 2 steps forward. And so we have to, and it's hard to tell a young brother your age, Eli, from the streets to turn down a $500,000 contract. Because I remember when I came in, and I was going to be touring with UTFO. They did Roxanne before Roxanne Shantae came about, and I think it was Educated Rapper, one of them. He said, I'm making more money than my father. Now this was in 1984, 1985. And so how do you tell a young man growing up in
Facts.
poverty
Yeah.
to turn down $500,000? You know what I mean? Well, this can change his economic landscape.
Yeah.
So money becomes the gift and money becomes the curse.
Well, because what I was thinking, like the fact that like the selling records doesn't really make money anymore, I thought that might be the blessing in disguise. Meaning, back to when you guys like that era when it started, it was no real money and it was just the love and the creativity and
Yes.
so if it kind of gets back to that, like okay, you're not gonna make, you know, $1 million from selling a few records, but if you take time and build that audience to really showcase your creativity, feel something from that and be able to kind of feel some independence. I think if more rappers started to take more pride in that, maybe.
Yes. But we all become a reference point. So if the reference point is Young Gunna or so-and-so, then the young 12-year-old child is influenced by what he sees. And I always say in 1988, Rakim said, I'm the God MC. Keep staring, soon you suddenly see a star. You better follow it because it's the R. So he was already elevating the consciousness there. Public Enemy was saying, fight the power. KRS-One was saying, stop the violence. So as a penman, your pen game at 12 and 13 was only based on what your reference point, but now the reference point is all over the place. It's degenerative to the point where it's hard to get young people to go, create your own lane. Another thing, when we grew up, you couldn't come out sounding like anybody else. There was a term called down by law. And that down by law means you had to see what was out and you had to fill a lane. So we could have a Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. We could have a Cool G Rap, you know what I'm saying, who spoke about street. We can have a Big Daddy Kane. We can have a Slick Rick who was telling stories. And the list goes on. And it was important you didn't come out sounding like anybody else because that was called whack. You know, just throwing some of the lexicon in there from back in the days, right? And so nowadays, the record labels, one of the things that made Tim Dog write F. Compton was because every label he was going into at this point was looking for NWA. They wanted every rapper on the East Coast now to wear jerry curls and talk about gangbanging. And Tim Dog said, man, listen, forget that. Fuck Compton. You know what I mean? So he was so frustrated and it became a #1 hit on billboards with no radio play because brothers on this coast was like, man, listen, I agree. You know what I mean? Well, we have to be who we are. We are the founders of this culture, and now the record labels become the gatekeepers and say, we're not signing this or we're not signing that. And when they say that, but we will cut you a $500,000 check if you talk about your women a certain way and talk about violence and guns, because it's just entertainment. So, you know, and then you have the artists who won't take responsibility. They say, well, you should monitor what your children listen to. Technically, they're correct, but our children have this music and this social media has given them gateways to the world. And as parents, we can't monitor everything our children.
Like for example, I can't. So when me and my sister was younger, I used to be able to turn off the radio or turn it to a different station to block out the curse words. That's not gonna happen now.
Right. And even
all
then,
these little
I couldn't
kids
block out all of the curse words.
Right. Because all these little kids have iPhones, Androids. They're gonna go home or they're gonna go to school and be like, "Yo, have you seen this song?" And they'd be like, "Wait, I didn't hear this version."
Yeah, I didn't know music had curses on it until like. No, seriously, because I always just watch BET or just listen to the radio, so I didn't know music had curses in it until like when I'm hearing it one day, I was like, oh.
And then be like, whoa. Because like I remember when I first
That's
heard
what Juvenile saying.
Right. I remember when I listened to like my first ever curse song, I was like, oh no, this song is way better than what I was originally listening to.
Because it felt forbidden.
Right.
That taboo. So like when I was young, and my mother would put the Richard Pryor records on and say, Dwayne, go in the room, you can't listen to this. And you sit by the edge of the bed and you listen anyway. It's just forbidden. You're not supposed to be listening to this. Right. And so the forbidden aspect of that, so this music thing is important to us because music is the only thing that can enter our subconscious minds without our permission. It is who we are. We say rhythm, that's Ra's him. We are in tune, and so we have to educate the young people on how important what they say is important, because the words you can't take back, especially when you put them on wax and it becomes a chant. So if I'm saying bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks, right? And 1 million people are saying that at the same time, because all of the record labels and radio stations are in synchronicity, that becomes a chant. And when it becomes a chant, things we chant collectively are manifested at a higher rate. And this is the higher science of how they can take a bunch of people and have us thinking bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks.
Yeah.
Also the frequency.
Yes.
The 420.
Yeah, 432 is where sound should be. They moved it up to 440. Not Eli getting real deep on it now.
I just remember.
Talking about frequencies now.
No, but yeah, like the
but
four.
that's very important stuff. So now that the records are not selling, you know what they're giving out? Corporate deals.
Yeah.
So now your records are not selling. So now I got to be connected to Coca-Cola. I got to be connected to T-Mobile. Now that's maybe a good thing and a bad thing, because now I don't have my own thoughts, Marcus. So now let's say I'm against whatever, killing dolphins, but the company said, or I'm with, yo man, them dolphins ain't, and I don't care about them dolphins. But yet Coca-Cola say, look Marcus, we care a lot about dolphins. And so we need you to get in line with these dolphins, because so now when hip hop used to be the voice of the people to rebel and bring us the news as it needed to be told to us, now you see rappers being quiet. They thinking more about their corporate deal than actually telling you the truth. Like, yo, you shouldn't take that shot, or you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't do that, without further understanding it. Everyone is quiet. What do you think about that?
It's interesting because I think when you enter hip hop, you get a deal. For the most part, you don't know who you are. So you're gonna do things that the corporate deals tell you to do, right? But I think at one point you're gonna evolve. Like NBA Youngboy, he recently said, "Yo, I'm realizing like the records that I've been writing is having an effect on his fans."
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? So, like Snoop Dogg, for example, Murder Was the Case that they gave me. When he wrote that song, he never had a murder case, but he brought it into existence like a year later.
Oh, yes, yes.
So, I think everybody has to go through that process. Ignorance, nigga shit, all types of stuff for you to get to the point of, yo, I have to evolve and just level up. So even though we're having this healthy debate, you have to just let it happen. Like let it happen. So that's like when people say, yo, if there was no violence in the world, it would be peace, right?
Yeah.
But everything plays a part.
Yeah.
If you take a key off your piano, the piano doesn't play right.
Right.
So that's violence.
Right.
It has its part. You get what I'm saying? So
Interesting. Yeah.
in a weird way, it's like when you have to let us make mistakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. You have to.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, these mistakes end up in death, jail, and we don't want that to happen. So I think it boils down to when you come in, your ignorance on fire, you get money, you're doing stuff, and I get it. But eventually, it has to be a point in time where you just grow.
Malcolm?
Yeah, no, you make the example of when, like, you know, if aliens were watching Earth just kind of just grow and there's wars happening, but you kind of have to let it happen. I think Marcus is on point with, we have to just kind of let it see, because like I said, 50 years, you think it's old, but it's not.
It's not a long time.
It's not a long time. You know what I'm saying? Like our legends are really just becoming grandfathers and grandparents and stuff like that.
Yes.
So we do have to see it, and it comes through many, many different stages, and you're starting to see stuff come back to lyricism, or people caring about lyrics, or you're starting to see people carve out their own lane. So I do agree that we just kind of have to sit back and see what's happening. But I do think there does need to be more of a a rein, like a holding of the reins from, you know, the people who do care about it though, you know what I'm saying? Not just, because that's probably the real elephant in the room. Like, it's the people within the culture who are letting it happen as well.
Yes.
To piggyback off you, so it's interesting how like people who have they don't know what it's like to go to school and try to get close to impress their friends, right? There's other families who could just afford anything and they never experience struggle.
Yes.
So, but they come in hip hop and trying to like be down, not to like to be discriminate.
John Moran is a perfect example.
Right. John Moran
Came from a beautiful two-family household, never really needed much,
Right.
and yet he's using hip-hop to emulate an aspect of himself, living vicariously through these images that he's seen on TV.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like even like when I went to Brooklyn, and there's certain neighborhoods that's like people from like Iran or, and they've never been in the hood,
Yeah.
but because they can afford certain things, it makes it look like they part of hip hop.
Yes.
So it's kind of confusing. You know what I'm saying? So they all dripped out. They look fly.
Yeah.
But they know nothing about hip hop.
About the culture itself.
But then their uncles is the lawyer of a record label.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so it's like a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So
So to sum this up, as an elder now of the culture, I'm speaking to us, as you said, as grandfathers and those, because I don't want to give off the impression I wasn't young and ignorant and rebellious and put curses in my records when I was 15 and 16. When you know better, you do better. And so we have a 50-year benchmark now to look at the culture, examine the culture. There's enough data now to say there's a political potential, economic, social, sex, all of these different aspects of it, but still put ourselves in position to say, as elders, we have to be held accountable. And as elders, we have to find ways to get a hold of the culture. We have to find ways to propel the culture into the future with technology, AI. We have to put ourselves in a position so that we can win, because hip hop is forever, it is eternal. There is no beginning. We're talking 1973 as a reference point for this specific frequency of it. But we've been dancing, we've been beating on drums, the Oracle has been speaking, and we've been writing since the beginning of time, through slavery, through so many different cultures. And I'm looking for us to win, and I'm hoping in the future we can all find our place as men, women, activists, raptivists, and protect this culture for what it needs to be. And with that being said, you already know what it is. Real mentality. This is how we get down.
We don't see your pain. I got a real mentality, a better view of reality. This is life that I'm battling. I got a real mentality.
Real men, real talk. With ambition and vision, it's still thought. A man in this world can feel lost. No matter what I'm on, a part of me feels off. Cause real men under attack. Choice words, toxicity is attached. A miscommunication, officers are dispatched. But problem resolution is what all of them lack. The final conclusion, one of us on our back. Past time for retribution, who's on the attack now? Real men on the rise. Ray Lucas is a hero in my eyes.
Don't think we don't see your pain. I got a real mentality, a better view of reality. This is life that I'm battling. Hey, don't think we don't see your pain. I got a real mentality, a better view of reality. This is life that I'm battling. I got a real mentality.
While embracing feminine energy, they strain you masculinity when really we should find balance. On an unpaid road, we only find challenge. I'm wondering who let the blind guide us. A dialogue with open perspective can guide us all in the right direction. It all starts with enlightened message. If family shows legacy, then Black Dot is the living pedigree. Marcus, Malcolm, Eli, and Odyssey. Odyssey, and Mama Dr. Matriarch is the sacred part. This is state-of-art content, vibrate above nonsense, so come converse with the conscience.
Don't think we don't